Hi everybody, it's been a while. I thought I would give you an update on all of my different planners in case you were wondering. If you saw my video at the beginning of the year and you're curious, yes, I am actually still using all of my planners. However, if you've been following me on Instagram, you realize that I have had to change some things up, which I will get to in just a moment. I realize that this is a lot of planners. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I'm well aware that it could probably be overwhelming, but I realized with my planner journey that the way my brain works, I need to have things segregated and I need to have a lot of space in my life just with what's going on for planning, tracking, and note-taking. And so this is just what works for me. It actually causes me anxiety when I'm not using my planners. So it has actually the opposite effect for me. And in the words of my best friend, you do you, so that's what I'm doing. So I hope that not only will this be enjoyable, but maybe, it will spark some ideas for your own life with planners that you have. So I think I'm just going to go by different category and explain it. So this is not going to be flip throughs or setup videos or anything like that. Hopefully, if anyone's interested, you can let me know and I can do some more of that later. But this is just going to be a general overview on what I use each planner for. I only take one planner with me, and that's my traveler's notebook, which I'll get to in just a moment. Everything else stays at home. I'm very minimalistic, especially when I leave the house, in case you're curious. And I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about how long it takes me, because I have been timing myself because I'm curious how long it takes. Sometimes when you watch videos or look at people's systems, you're like, holy moly, they must just spend their entire 24 hours a day planning. But no, that's not true. So let me get started. I think I'm going to do my happy planner first. This is my one and only disc bound. This planner actually takes me about 30 minutes a week, and I don't do all of my planning sessions all at once either. So I'm not just doing like a massive, 4-hour planning session on Sunday. I kind of just spread it out throughout the week. But at the beginning of the week, I take about 30 minutes. I'm still using this exactly the same way as I was originally, where this is my family's schedule. Now, I don't have my children, most of them don't live with me anymore. However, they live close enough that our schedules do overlap. They pop in and out frequently. And so I still kind of just need to keep track, just kind of an FYI. I'm not really in their business, but just so I can have a heads up if they may or may not be coming over, that kind of a thing. So with the Happy Planner, you're probably well aware that it's only an 18-month planner, but I only use the 12 months since I bought mine at the end of the year. So what I did is I just have the January through December tabs in here. I took the previous 6-month tabs out. However, I still have the extra 6-month pages in here. And I use those as what people call a brain dump. I don't really like that term. I use daily download, but I don't have to do that every day. It's just whenever I feel like my brain's going to explode and I just need to write some things down. You guys know what I'm talking about. You just have to write some things down so you don't forget, or you just make sure and get it done. I just use the 3 different boxes. I just put one thing in each box. When I get it done, I put a sticker on it. And that's just how I use that first 6-month section. And that's simply because I have got those pages. There's no other reason. This Smash pen band I have on here simply because it only fits the Happy Planner. It has to be larger than an A5. It doesn't even fit an A5. It's just a really large band. So I have these pens. I don't use all these pens in the Happy Planner, but they're just nice to have handy. My Happy Planner stays open on an easel right when you walk in my front door so everybody can see it. I'm still using my month at a glance for just an overview of menu ideas for the month, and then the weekly, of course, as all of my family's schedule, just very briefly where everybody is. And so this is essentially more of a pretty planner, even though it's tracking appointments and if people are out of town or whatever. But it is mostly pretty. Again, like I said, it takes me about 30 minutes to just slap some stickers on. And then I am using a lot of the stickers that I'm trying to use up for the year. I will just, if I have extra space, I will put that in here. So it ends up at the end of the week looking like a lot of stickers, but that's how I use this one, and it's still working out great. It is huge, and like I said, that one doesn't leave my house. I just have one that does. Now here are my 2 ring-bound planners. Let me start with this one. This is my Franklin Covey. This is a huge, this is probably my not only my fattest, but my heaviest planner. Again, just like the Happy Planner, I'm really only in this about once a week. That's for my budget meeting that I have once a week with my husband. This has all of our financial stuff in here still. So budgets and investments and, spending and my cash envelopes, all that kind of stuff is in here. We've got coupons or gift cards or, all that kind of stuff. Anything related to do with finances goes in here. I also have like a checkbook and another budget thing back here. So it's just humongous. Again, I would say overall our budget meeting doesn't last longer than 30 minutes, but as far as planning is concerned, I would say it only takes me about 15 minutes, and then, we've got our budget meeting on top of that. So it just stays there until I need it. And then this is my first big change. Now, at the beginning of the year, I had all of my Bible planning. You guys probably remember that's one of my big goals, is to read the Bible cover to cover, Old and New Testament, with my best friends. So I had all of my the assignments or the things that I was supposed to read for the week, and then my soap notes and anything to do with my congregation, as well as prayer requests and just all that kind of stuff that you need to keep track with. Anything to do with spirituality is really what I'm calling as my spiritual planner. And I quickly realized, within a month or two, that the Malden is just, at least the personal size, is just too small for that. And so now what I have changed it over to is the new Wonderful Recollections planner line. I have a couple of booklets in there, and I just changed this over, so as you can see, it's not completely set up. I'll try and do a setup video when I get that done. But this is my emergency planner, and if you're unfamiliar with those, it's kind of like if you're familiar with a bug out bag, just stuff that you're supposed to have in case there is a true emergency. So your bank numbers, driver's license, social security cards, all those kinds of things. All of that will be in here, so I can just grab and go this and have all of that information at my fingertips, passwords, all that kind of stuff. So that's what this is turning into. I like it because it's very portable, and the smaller size is good for something like that. So that's what that is changing over to. Now I'm going to talk about my book-bound planners, and I'll start with my top-down planner. I'm still using this the same as I was before, which is kind of like a goals workbook where I figure out well, if you're familiar with the way it's set up, you have your, kind of what your values are, but also your big picture goals, and then you start breaking those down by years, and then, of course, months and weeks. And so that's what I use this for. Again, this probably takes me, I would say, 15 minutes a week. When I'm doing my month on top of that, when it's, the first of the month, then it'll add probably another 15 minutes. So, 30 minutes at the beginning of the month, and then 15 minutes for each week is how I'm using that. And it's just kind of as you know, it's broken down into sections by month and by week. And so this is where I start, and then I move on to my other planners and just kind of break it down even more with that bottom-up type of planning that I've talked about. So that also stays open and doesn't leave the house. Then I'm going to talk about more book bounds, and these are going to be my Hobonichis, which you guys know. Sorry, I have a lot of them, so I'm trying to get them all out. I actually don't know if I've ever showed this one before. This one is the Hobonichi Avec A6, and I made a little traveler's notebook for it because I didn't have anything else and I wanted to put it in here. As you can see, it is stuffed and it's super duper fat, and really what these are the Hobonichi credit card inserts and the photo inserts, and they are just completely stuffed with stickers. The Avec, what I use that for, I'm still using it for the same thing, and that is kind of like my home management. It's not like a binder, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm terrible at remembering what to do. I mean, I'm not talking about your daily routines or your daily tasks, but I'm talking about the things like, oh, it's time to power wash the windows, and it's every 6 months you're supposed to change the water filter in your fridge. Like I have no idea unless I have it in something like this. And so that's really what I'm using this for. It's still a work in progress because I keep thinking of all these things that I need to add, but how I just use it is these are obviously going to be functional things, stickers related to my home, vacuuming stickers because I don't vacuum every day, sweep every day, but not vacuum every day, and those kinds of stickers, and I'll just slap it down on the day that I want to get that done. So anything that's that's not daily, if that makes sense. And so I will slap it down, and so I will look at that particular day. I may have one thing or nothing to do, or I might have 5 different things that I'm supposed to do, you know, end of the month types of things. So it's working out really well. Again, I feel like this is more of just me getting my brain organized, kind of a planner with my home management. And hopefully that will become, you know, more routine. I know some people can just automatically remember that, and kudos to you, but I am not one of those people. Okay, my next one is my Hobonichi. This is my other A6, and this is a planner. I do have other notebooks and journals that I'm using, but I included this one. I am actually still using this as my gratitude journal, but since it's technically set up to be a planner, I wanted to still include it in my planner video here. But I'm still using this as my gratitude journal. I write on average about 5 things a day that I'm grateful for, and it's changed my world. It really has. It's so much easier to come up with things that I'm grateful for. So I really love having that, still using that. And then my last, well, actually it's 2, but I actually have 3 Hobonichis in here. Let me start with this one. This is my traveler's notebook. I will do another setup video. I know this is really popular with my traveler's notebook. People like to see traveler's notebooks. But I just reached the year mark on this, so I will definitely do a video on this one. But I wanted to show you really quickly that I do have my weeks in here. And this is the only planner that ever leaves the house with me. And I needed something where it's just a very bird's eye view of my week and my month. And all I need to know is, am I available at a certain time on a certain day for the week or the month? That's it. And so it's very basic. As you can see, I have one pen. There's no color coding going on. There's no stickers going on. I originally, at the beginning of the year, was using this as my social media planner, and I don't feel like I need to have that anymore. And so this is perfect for that. I also stopped carrying around my notebook that I had for sermon notes, and this is also the same thing. So I use the section, let me show you really fast if I can, right here. So I have my appointments written down here. My husband, who travels a lot for work, if he's out of town, I'll put it down there just because I need to know that. This whole thing right here is what I use for sermon notes, and then if I need more, then I'll just go to the notes section in the back. And then the other one, because I actually have 2 Hobonichis in here, this is a new edition. This is another thing that changed when, at the first of the year, I was using this to track my health and wellness. So just basic overview of what I ate for the day, vitamins, water, things like that. And as you can see with the A6 size, it was very, very small, but it worked. What happened was my health changed. I have to track and do a lot more things with my health. And so this just became where it just wasn't enough room. And so I didn't want to have this sit. And also because it's a dated planner. And so what I ended up doing is instead of my Franklin Covey, since that's such a beast to get out, and it just made more sense for me to keep my personal spending in this little booklet. So again, not a lot of room, but enough room for that. And so that's what I'm using those 2 in there for. And along those lines, since that was too small, what I ended up doing was changing up my cousin. My cousin originally at the beginning of the year was my all things personal planning, because as you know, it's just a beautiful setup with the month, the week, and the day. However, like I said, I needed to change some things up. So this has now become my health and wellness tracker, where I just keep track of every single thing. So it's a lot of stuff, but the cousin has the room for it. And I just really love that everything's in one book and it has one focus. So love the cousin, and I love what that has become. And then last but not least, I've got these are my big changes. So what I just showed you was what I started with. And shockingly, I was still missing some things in my planning routine. And what I didn't realize what I was going to miss is my personal schedule week at a glance. Like the pretty planning, like my happy planner for my family, I needed that in my personal life. So again, I just ordered the Erin Condren when she had her big sale. They were 50% off. And so I thought, I know myself well enough, and I've used the Erin Condren enough that I knew that this is what I wanted. So I ended up just getting the hourly here. And I just, again, just use that as pretty planning, week at a glance for my stuff only. Because I like to see that. I like to see the visual, okay, this is what the week looks like. And so I have this on another easel where I can see it, and it's worked out beautiful. Let me save that one for last. So again, well, let me show this really quick. So again, this is just like the Happy Planner, where it probably takes me about 30 minutes a week is all, and then it's just kind of a one and done for me. And then this is what my Bible planning turned into. Again, another Erin Condren with the 50% off sale. Now, interestingly enough, this is a horizontal, which I don't know if I've talked much about it, but horizontals for personal planners for me are disastrous, like horrific. I've tried them a million times, and a million times they failed as a personal planner for me. But for some reason, they are absolutely brilliant for this, which is Bible planning. So I keep track of what I'm supposed to be reading, and then it has the little box that it has on there. Let me show you. So the box right here, is where I put what I'm supposed to be reading, and then I just have my notes right here, and then I use the monthly for anything to do with my congregation or prayers or anything like that. So it's so brilliant, and I love getting up in the morning and getting out this planner. It just brings me so much joy. Anyway, no regrets. I just completely love it. Last but not least, with the demise, or changing, not the demise, but the changing of my cousin with my Hobonichi, I've always known that I've been a daily planner. For years, probably decades, I've known that. And I have used sticky notes and notepads, backs of the napkins, old envelopes from junk mail. I mean, you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I've tried everything because I need a daily to-do list, kind of a rundown of how my day, I want it to go. And my only regret here is that I have never allowed myself to get an actual daily planner, and I also haven't found one that I've really liked until recently. Now this is a Mead Cambridge. It actually says notes, so it sounds like it's a notepad, but it's actually not. When you see the way that it's set up, you could circle the month, and then you circle the day, and then I just have how I want my day to run down by hour here, and then my to-do list over here, and it's just brilliant, and I love it. It's all in one place, so I don't have things like all mangled and torn up and just laying around, and I can't find the list when I need it. So anyway, it takes me like 5 or 10 minutes a night, and that is it. So that is my complete planner system. Again, I know it's crazy, but it works for me, and I'm super happy. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.